Cool. Okay, we're here with AgHawk. He's gonna map the vineyard today. Nice.
Moving to start point. Reaching maximum altitude.
We completely basically set the boundaries where we want it to stay. It'll stay inside those boundaries. We set a height, we set a speed, whatever the gallons break or all that, we'll set all that. And then once it gets out there, we kind of just set it on its path and let it do its thing, and
you gotta be
just
real
keep an eye on it.
with power lines.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We intentionally keep it pretty far away from the power lines,
Oh, I would guess.
just to make sure. But yeah, it's.
But you have like a GPS.
Yeah, we do have a satellite connection, a little RGK system that basically connects to the small drones we have inside, and that is what we use to get. We're down to about 3 centimeters of accuracy. So. And that's it.
Yay!
Right up to 3 drones at a time. Kind of stagger them as they come and go back and forth, and cover quite a bit. So, yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to put this kind of under the trailer and I'll be right in.
Okay, we're going to see some drones. Look both ways. Okay, no cars, no cars. Let's go. Look at that. Okay, we got the drones. This is Charles. You've met Charles, haven't you?
I've seen Charles.
Yeah. There's Charles. He's being shy.
It's all right.
He just got it from a nap.
Perfect.
This is quite a rig you got here.
Yeah. There's the big
Oh, I see.
heavy-duty drawer where we just one after the other and slide them in, and
Cool.
then the inside of that's just the doghouse. That's just kind of like a maintenance thing. We've got all the tools out of it, but it's
The batteries.
batteries and
So how much does a battery cost? Just curious. Suckers. Can't be cheap.
no, I think they're like $300 or $400. I think $500, something like that.
Yeah.
The battery. This is just basically the case that everything sits in.
Huh.
This is like $1,800.
Wow.
Just for that. But normally when you buy the drones, it comes with the cords, the box, the charger, the battery. You get 3 batteries in a drone.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Does it come with the spray setup, or is that all extra?
So it comes with the 2 on the back, but
Uh-huh.
the 2 on the front, those are add-on. Those are additional.
Huh. Very cool.
Yeah. So it comes just like this. It just we add the 2 in the front to get extra coverage. It does not come with the spreader. So there's a spreader that comes with these. They actually
It's just like a helicopter. We're gonna watch it fly here in a little bit.
make 100, which is 1 gallon.
We're gonna watch it fly here in a minute.
That's low drums.
Yeah.
Those would be cool, man. I'd love to have one.
Those are big ones. Yeah,
You want to see the drones, or don't you?
I do.
Okay. We're gonna watch some drones.
Look,
All right, let's go.
there's there's some food.
Better go make sure no one wants swine. Hey, buddy.
Okay.
And don't say
Road, there's an automated flight path
Hey,
that we've built
Grandma.
out that it's going to follow.
Let's
So what the
do
pilot's going to
those.
do is he's going to take it off around the cars. He'll bring it into the flight pattern over here. He'll put it on auto mode and it's going to do it. When it's done flying that path, it's going to hover. He'll bring it back and he'll land it. So ideally we'd want to put, side water and see what's happening.
Do you mind if I get up there and film it?
Yeah, just not too close.
Yeah, I won't get too close.
don't get too
Don't
close.
get too close.
Anyway, Gabe, when you're ready, go.
Take a picture of it.
There it goes. Look it. Watch. Watch this, bud. There it goes. Whoa, look at that. That's cool. Look at that, buddy. Look at that.
Look at Grandma. Look it. Look it. Look. Look, Grandma. Look. Look, Grandma. Look at Grandma. Look at Grandma. Look. That's a drone.
A lot of the issues that a lot of people do see with these ag drones is that they'll just automate it the entire way, which it's capable of doing. We could put it in auto mode and it'll take off the land and do all that on its own.
I hope he doesn't run into the telephone pole. That'd be embarrassing.
For the pilot's flight back and forth. So right now, this is all on the drone. The drone's doing this. The pilot's not doing anything.
That's where they mapped this place like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So it's like already
It's
programmed
got
into it.
two radars. It's got one on top that senses like this, and it's got one on the bottom that does this, so it's sensing like
It's also
that.
way
So
more
it's
expensive.
looking at variations in ground and everything. There are those. It will pick them up, but whether it will avoid those, I don't know the answer to that because no one's risked flying out a power line yet to try it. So we err on the side of caution.
What about getting the spray like underneath the leaves?
Yep, so we just sprayed yesterday and we got a really good video. Basically what happens is it comes out, so the fans atomize it, comes out like this. The rotor wash forces it down. It'll come down and hit the ground. It'll curl back up and it'll rotate again through the blades and back down again. So you get this kind of rotor wash.
Okay.
So it's pretty cool to look.
Yeah. Which you see that on helicopters all the
Same
time.
exact thing.
Especially around water.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yep. So that's technically what's happening with that, if the spray's coming out.
And you can
That he's at 20 miles an hour. Yeah. So it really, there's some variables there. So your height, how much I see where you're going with it.
Yeah, you got it.
All right, so on the bottom of this tank, there's this. Basically, it's a metal pad, and that's what the sensor sits on. So this is actually a weight sensor, and so every single drone that we have comes with this, and this is what talks to the actual controller, and it tells me when the tank's empty or when it's full. It'll give me an exact reading on whatever that weight is for the tank. So. And they're not like on springs or anything. It's either magnetic or something. There's something in there that allows it to read that, but it's accurate down to like, I don't know, it's pretty close. So, yeah, that's pretty much how it reads the weight. This is the smaller drone. It's only a 4 rotor. It doesn't have the 8 motors. About a 5.5 gallon tank. It will drain and run this really fast. This drone's quick. It's more maneuverable. This is really for smaller jobs. If you got, I don't know, 10, 15 acres, 20 acres, it's a good job for this. You got 2 or 3 of these, just run them nonstop. T50 is really, it can do some large scale jobs. A lot of people say, well, it's only 10 gallons. It ain't gonna do, you're not gonna be able to get that much acreage. We can get more acreage in a row crop than a crop duster. So one crop duster is gonna have to go back and forth to refill at a landing facility. We don't have to do that. We just have our trailer pull up and just kind of nonstop. We just can't, so far we're not able to compete with a helicopter just because helicopter, larger capacity, they can fly longer. And they can bring their tanks out just like we can. So they can stay on site and continue to spray. So they are more efficient, but they also cost a lot more. You got jet fuel, you got a license cost, you got all that stuff. And they can't get in close and tight to power lines like we can. So they have to actually fly up and over, and we can actually, depend on the height, we could theoretically fly underneath them. It just, again, depends on what's there. So anyway, that's pretty much most of the information on this. Questions? And, you know, attending this, so I really appreciate that. And hopefully it's informative. You guys get information out of this. That's kind of the idea. We just want to make sure the community sees what's available, kind of where we kind of see the agriculture industry going. Because I think there's some big changes coming that we're probably not aware of just because of some stuff that's happened in tech recently. And so the whole idea behind this is just to give everyone the info, and if there's questions, answer them, and that's about it. That's really all we're doing here. So with that being said, we'll kind of jump into this real quick. First of all, thank you, Carl and Mariah, for allowing us to come here at this beautiful location. This is amazing.
Thank you for coming out.
You know, this is a great spot for it, so I appreciate that. So real quick, who we are, we're obviously, as you know, we're an ag application company. We don't sell drones. We're not really a dealer. We were thinking about becoming a dealer for the stuff that's coming up down the road. Just the reason we haven't got into this is because we don't know what the fate of DJI is at this point. It could stick around, or they may nix it and we all have to transition to something else. But whatever that future looks like, we're kind of keeping our hands out of it until we figure that out. So I was actually born and raised in Seattle. Grew up in Bothell, and around 2019 we moved here. Been here ever since, and kind of fell in love with this place and the agriculture. And part of the reason we wanted to start this company is to help growers in the area to solve problems that, you know, that we're facing right now. So a lot of that around has to do with regulations. Washington State's, you know, there's some areas where it makes it difficult, but also trying to save money, because it's every year it's getting more and more expensive to grow. So we want to try and see if we can't solve some of that. So that's basically who we are. Just real quick innovation around drones. This is called basically Kittering Bugs, one of the first unmanned piloted aircraft. It was controlled by vacuum tubes and a couple of electrodes, and they would set an altitude and an altimeter in this thing. They would send it off the side of a ship, and it would kind of keep elevation until it hit its target. So it's basically a flyable torpedo. And then this is one of the updated, obviously the Predator, everyone knows what this is, but it's kind of where stuff was headed, at least militarily, when it comes to drones. The big one, though, is drones in agriculture. So initially, I kind of saw this back in 2009 when they had quadcopters, but they were attaching 5-gallon buckets to them, and then they were putting fish pumps in them and sticking hoses out by the rotors and kind of getting the same effect. They weren't atomizing it, but they were just kind of experimenting. The one on the left is actually a Yamaha. It's called an RMAX. That's been around since the mid-'80s. That, surprisingly enough, you cannot buy that. I would love to have one. You can't unless you physically work for Yamaha. I don't know why they do that, but again, they've been around for a while, so the technology has been advancing ever since. So, with that being said, here's kind of the top. We'll kind of go through them real quick. The top drones on the market today. So we've got DJI T50. You've seen those. T25 a little bit smaller. The EA Vision's brand new, just came out. It actually comes with LiDAR. Its radar system's a little bit different. The XHE P100, and then the Ares 150 is actually a Texas drone that's built out of Texas. So the J100 looks a little bit different. It's only a 4-rotor. It's got a better radar system. The software is a little bit questionable. Actually, the software on all these is kind of questionable, but it's a good drone. It's if you're spraying row crops, it's great for that. XAG, again, another drone. This one's about 15 or 18 gallons. Great build quality, but bad software. You could crash this all day long, it won't break, but that's not the idea. So, and then again, the Helio 150. This is a great drone, American-made. Their software still has some updating to do. I think once they get their software nailed, this is going to be a real big competitor. It's not quite there yet, but just kind of what's on the market. Quick specs, and a lot of people have been asking about this. So acres per hour in orchards, we're roughly between 10 and 30 acres an hour, depending on how many drones one pilot's flying. It just depends on how efficient you are. It depends on what you're trying, how much you're trying to spray, what you're trying to get out. Vineyards, you're looking at a little bit more, so 50 to 120. And then fields is the big one, where obviously with no obstacles, 50 to 150 acres an hour. So you're really moving at that point. Dry payload, so with the spreaders that you can do on these T50s, anywhere from 3,300 pounds to 9,900 pounds, you can spread an hour. So just get sheer numbers as far as how many you're flying. So
So spraying real quick, just the sizing's like 50 to 500 microns. It atomizes the spray. We kind of talk about that. There's some pins inside the wheel. The spray gets dumped into that. The wheel's spinning really, really fast. It hits it, it atomizes, it comes out, and then that rotor wash is what carries it down through the canopy and then back up. So we're going to dive into a little bit of detail. This is actually fairly new. This has been out, but the software hasn't caught up to where we'd like it. This is what we call spot spraying. So we'll take a multispectral camera, we'll build a flight path like we did here, but then we'll use the multispectral image to find variations in the crop health. And based on that, we'll overlay a grid over the top of that, and we will pick areas that we want to spray and areas we don't want to spray. This is the initial stage of that build out. This is what the actual flight path looks like in the remote. So obviously all the purple is the stuff we want to spray, all the stuff in yellow is stuff we don't want to spray. So very inefficient right now, the way you're just flying long lines where you're not spraying. Well, we can actually build it out to where we just have it fly over the areas we want to spray. So instead of spraying everything, we can be very focused on application. So this technology has been there, but it hasn't actually worked very well. It is now kind of gotten to the point where it is efficient and we can actually make this work. So this is a new one since you and I actually talked. So this is a big change. Beneficial insects, this is a new one also. So that's the actual spreading tank. We can do granular spreading fertilizer, you can do powder, you can do beneficial insects, all of it, like it's all spreadable. And then dusting. It's not on fire, it's actually a calcium dust that we're spreading right there, but they are dusting. So you could fill it full of dust and fly over and it will cover dust. I would say you probably want to be in a rural area, not next to someone's house, because it will probably dust their house. But and then drying. So the thing is, as far as cherries and trying to dry fruit, the reason why would we want to do that with a drone and not a helicopter, one is obviously we're not putting a man in the air above crop at a low altitude and risking crashing. The other thing is we get really close and the disturbance on that fruit, we're not going to break branches, we're not going to knock fruit off the tree, so we can actually get closer and try and be a little bit more effective without causing damage. So multispectral, this is a big one. I think this is really where a lot of that change is going to come. The variations in what this will pick up is really key in the data that we're looking for. We really want to create and collect data from growers because that'll help us better drive how we're growing and get a better yield on anything that we're trying to do. So what it's looking at, it's actually looking at infrared channels. So we're looking at red, green, and blue channels. Based on that, all plant matter is giving off infrared. We just can't see it. But the multispectral camera will actually pick that up, and based on that data, we can tell whether the plant is in distress or not. And we can see that before we could physically see it with our eyes. The drone's able to pick it up. So the NDVI is just a normalized vegetative index. So I've always, and this isn't always true, but I've always kind of said if it's green, it's good. If it's red, it's bad. That's sort of true. It's not quite. There's some issues with that. But as you can see, it's actually picking up the moisture content. We've actually did an experiment on this where we actually put in rotators, rotating sprinklers, and it actually picks up the moisture in the ground based on that. And we can actually see how well certain portions of this is growing versus others. If we jump down to the NDRE, which is actually looking at nitrogen content and a little bit of the chlorophyll, these operate from like a 0.1 index to like a 0.9 or a 1 index, and you get it on a scale. When you download the data, put it in the software, it's on a scale. You can actually scale it, and it will change the variations in color. So if I want to look at anything that's a 0.2 to a 0.4, which usually means it's in distress, I can do that, and the stuff will change to a color, and those are the plants I can focus on. So I'm not guessing. There's no guesswork. And then for the Macari, this is also looking at chlorophyll. So you're looking at, how much chlorophyll the plant is actually how much you can actually see as far as the reflective. So, and again, also the green normalized difference vegetation. It's kind of, this is really when it says green is good, red is bad. This is the one I would look at. So, I would love to put more data here, but we'd be here for hours going through this because there's so much to it. This was just kind of give you guys an idea of what a multispectral image is and what we kind of look for when we scan fields. So why use drones? So again, we want to promote sustainable farming. We want to make it so it's efficient, it's effective. We're out there, we're spraying where we need to spray, not where we don't need to spray, and that way we can actually collect data. Because right now there's not a lot of data, right? There's no one out there collecting data on what everyone's doing. So all of a sudden, everyone's going to have a bad year and their yield is low. Well, the question is why, right? Was it a frost? Was it this? Was it that? Was there deficiencies? And so without the data, it's more guessing. So we really want to look at the data, and that's kind of where these come in. So. And then real quick, as far as kind of, these are more like use cases. So we've done some research on this. So Stemets right now is actually using these. They're really geared towards actually most of these are multispectral. Their data is really geared towards that. So they're looking at crop health, they're trying to do early detection, they're looking for hot areas. And so what we can actually do is we'll pull in a thermal drone, and so if we find a hot area with multispectral, we'll scan it with a thermal drone, and if there's heat signatures, we can actually go in and verify if there's pest infestation or something. So codling moth surveillance. So we can actually scan and see a heat signature as an infestation of codling moth, and we can go in and pinpoint that. So another one, Washington fruit growers, again, they're really going around the sensors as far as multispectral, so they're looking at early detection for pests and disease and that kind of thing. As far as numbers go, because I think that's kind of important, so there's North Carolina farmers that are really using this multispectral imagery that they're saving roughly around 20K, 500 acres, which is, I mean, it's good. John Deere's integrated this technology into their actual computing system in their tractors so they can get real-time data when they're flying over the top of the crop, and as they're spraying, they can take that data, analyze it, and the sprayer will spray right where it needs to. They still have man in the seat, but at least they're getting real-time data, which I think is the important part here. So, as far as wineries go, so we've got Trinidad, so they're doing the same thing. They're trying to get early detection. They're detecting pest control. I don't, for us up here in Washington, we don't have as much pest issues as they do down in California, but they're looking at kind of the same thing as far as trying to save money. Another big one is the Gallo family farms, early detection. So they'll go out and they'll fly these large swaths of area, and they're looking for large areas of issues, and they can go in and pinpoint those and try and help to bring their crop yield up. So another one, so Domain, another one. Again, they're really just looking at targeted usage. Pest collection, they're actually doing this a little bit differently. So they're taking this and they're before they plant their vineyards, they're actually doing layouts of their fields, and they're trying to figure out what the flow rate is. They're looking at wind direction, looking at everything, including the chemical composition, the makeup as far as multispectral goes of the actual ground. So when they plant it, they're getting the best possible results out of their crop. So it's an interesting direction that they've decided to go, which I didn't really think was possible, but that's what they're doing. So it's, again, like, changes to the technology is, I think it's going to be huge. Some of these I think are important, some not so much. Some of these I don't think we've seen since at least 2017 or so as far as disease issues. So leaf roll is another one that we can detect, again with multispectral thermal, so we can detect it before you can actually see it in the leaf, which is great. So you can come in and pinpoint those and then take care of it. Another one, red blotch. Again, I think I've seen some of this in the area, but not a lot. But again, temperature variations and stuff, we can monitor that and get those perspectives before they actually become a problem. And then the big one I think we're all used to is powdery mildew, and we see that across the board on everything. And this is a big one, obviously. But the good news is we can see if the plant is distressed before we actually start to see the spores on the actual plant itself, which allows us to come in and know, okay, well, there's a certain area we need to spray fungicides, and we can come in and do that before we actually start to have an issue or see it. So it's just another way to save money as opposed to going in and just always spraying once a week or every other week, whatever it is, just constantly spraying when you may not have to, right? So. And another one, I actually saw this a couple years ago, but basically bunch rot, where the center of your grapes are starting to rot out. Like I've seen this a couple times. And again, being able to, if you have large acreage, I mean, you're on a four-wheeler, you're going to be tracking it. There's going to be things you're going to miss, right? Unless you're out there flying somewhere, you're there day after day, walking through it, looking. So having that ability to go fly through there and see stuff in 6 minutes versus all day is great. So. And then real quick, this is kind of the interesting stuff. So this is kind of where we see technology and agriculture going. So this is a big, Microsoft just released this, I want to say about 3 weeks ago. So this is the Mariana chip. This is their new quantum chip. So Google had their quantum computer, everyone heard about it, or supposedly everyone heard about it. This completely upends technology. So Google's chip is 1,000 qubits. I'm gonna bore people, we get into this, so we're not gonna talk about it, but basically it's computing power. So this is 1,000,000 qubits. The best way to think about this is this one chip fits in your hand. This one chip has more computing power than every computer in the world combined. That's how powerful this chip is. So this thing is insane. If they take this chip and they actually put this into the mainstream, which I don't think they'd do that, but if they do something close to that, this chip is going to change the way we look at agriculture. It's going to change the way the software works, the way the drones work, everything. It's the way that the predictive AI can look at yields and data and all that stuff and tell you exactly what's going to happen. It's probably going to, it'll tell you you're going to have an issue before we even know we're going to have an issue. So that's kind of where we see technology going. I don't think this is going to hit mainstream anytime soon, but I think this is going to keep evolving, and as it does, so is the technology. So, and then the next one, so we did do a little bit of research around some of the companies out there that are trying to integrate, basically lead the way as far as revolutionary stuff. So Trimble, AG Leader, and Blue River. So they're basically a software company. They try and integrate their software into either tractors, whatever. So an automated tractor, right? You got a Kubota and you want to put this software in there and have it do its own thing. You still have to have a driver in the seat. Like you can't get off and let it go. Like you still have to have a driver in the seat, but the thing will actually automate and do everything you want it to do. So FarmBot, an automated home garden system where you literally, kind of small scale, but get you an idea. You put this thing up over a box and you hit go, it will plant your seeds, it'll water your plants, it'll pull your weeds, it'll pick your crop, it'll do all of it. You don't have to do anything. But a small scale, but think about that on a large scale. That's kind of the direction we're going. And the other one is apple picking robots. Some people have seen this, some people haven't. This is a little ridiculous, but it just shows you the direction that things are going. I don't think the technology is there yet where this is going to be utilized mainstream, but it's getting there. So this one is not Apple. This is actually an automated grape picker. This is the little tractor that runs out. On the bottom, there's basically an image that shows you. It will detect the bunches. It will pick, and it will put it in a box, and it'll go through and it'll pick all your grapes. It takes forever, but it's automated. So the technology is one that once they make this stuff really efficient, I think it's going to change the way we're looking at stuff. So as you can see, it's just kind of going through. It decides what grape, cut it, pick it, put it in the basket. Again, slow, but it's doing it its own. No one's controlling it. So completely automated. Yeah. And this is another interesting one. I think this one's pretty interesting. So this is basically Tevel. It's basically they're picking apples. So they use suction cups. It'll suction onto the apple. It'll spin the apple to get it off the stem, and it'll put it into the basket, and it'll pick it. It's not very fast. If anyone's seen these, they aren't really efficient. But when they get these things efficient or redesign them so they are efficient, it's going to change kind of the way we think about basically apple picking. So, and again, this is just kind of an idea to give people some thought on the direction of where the next 10 years is going to go. This is not available yet, but just to give you an idea. So if you wanted an autonomous agricultural unit, you'd have a base unit that controls everything. It's a main hub, like think of your central home system or your main computer. It generates and talks to all these other different sensors. So you'll have sensors for moisture, humidity, heat, wind, imagery, all of that. So the imagery is interesting because it'll be a camera, it'll scan your field, look for insects, it'll have zoom capabilities where it can detect insects down to like the micro, really small aphids and stuff like that. And based on that, it'll know what it needs to do. So it'll send out a drone, or it'll do an RGB scan, and then you'll have control valves as far as you can, irrigation overhead, depending on what you're using or what crop you're growing. But entirely automated system. Only thing a person would have to do is go in and obviously do pruning and fill up the chemical station. That's about it. But pretty much completely off hands. And one person brought up the comment where they said, when this thing goes wrong, it goes drastically wrong. That's absolutely true. If this thing was to fail, it would be a disaster. But it's still an idea, and I think over time, if something like that was to be developed, yeah, it'd be a game changer. So with that being said, I have one little thing here left, and this is kind of the integration that we're looking at as far as tracking the data. So on the lower left-hand, the flight record, this is what's generated when we fly the drone. So when we fly the drone, it's going to generate the flight speed, what it did. This was spreading fertilizer. And it will look at all that data. It will show me the flight path. It will show me where everything was spread. So if somebody comes at my door and knocks and audits me, I've got the data. So if I'm spraying for something and some guy says I oversprayed his car, I can show the wind speed that was spraying in the other direction, and I can show that I was, a quarter block away from the road, so there's no way I could have touched this car. So it actually protects us, the sprayer, and it protects everyone else who's actually properly spraying. So it tracks everything. The drone itself will actually pick up wind speed and temperature. This will track the amount that's sprayed. And so all of this is consolidated into a tracking software that we utilize. And the integration is going to continue to improve where an owner can go in and click on it. They can actually watch the flight path of what happened. So if somebody says, hey, I'm done with your orchard, I'm done with your grapes, I just sprayed, you can go in and click and see exactly what was sprayed because, hey, I had a hot spot over there. Did they get that spot? You can actually check. So with that being said, I think I went through that a lot faster than I did last time. So pretty much. Yes. Last time I felt like it was a lot longer. But
So when you're doing the IR mapping,
yes.
Is that at the same time when you're spraying, or is that a different?
So ideally, if we have the time, we can come out and do it all the same day. But ideally, if we're running a lot of different parcels, we would pre-build the map, do the IR a day or two before we actually spray, and then after we spray, we come back in a week and we capture the data again because we want to see those variations, right? So if we spray, I want to know what it looked like before it's sprayed, and I want to know what it looks like after it's sprayed, so I know that there's changes there, right? So I want to track that. So.
Yeah, and I didn't ask you that, but that makes perfect sense. I didn't ask the question.
Okay.
When it's spraying,
Yes.
you are or not?
I am not.
You're not Matt?
Yeah, no, this is before, and this is more of a before and after.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense. I always thought that was like, wow, that'd be amazing. You know?
Yeah.
Is the data gathered after landing, or is it
It's
Wi-Fi somewhere? or-
It's in the remote, so it's real-time data, but it's stored in the remote. And so when the pilot's done flying, he'll hit end, and it will instantly generate from the remote, and it'll send it to the platform that we capture the data, and it's already consumable at that point. So
Like if property owners looking at it, are they looking real time?
not yet. They will be in the future, but right now that capability is not there.
All right.
And then if anyone's got questions, you all have my contact info. You can reach out to me. If anybody wants to learn more, get more information on multispectral, any of that. If you got questions, just reach out.